أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. You are welcome to Al-Mustaqim channel, where we reflect, reconnect and revive our soul back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I am your host, Shekoni Sharifdin. I have here with me a scholar, Al-Ustaz Muhammad Okoro, who is the coordinator of the Pure Heart Islamic Foundation, Ikorodu branch. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alaikum assalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Now, inshallah, we are going to be looking at the weakness and the symptoms of weakness of faith. So we are going to be dishing out how our faith goes up and goes down, how we can develop our faith. Now, to start with, Ustaz, like to ask, how should a Muslim observe, or how will a Muslim know that, okay, at this very moment, my faith is starting, I've started retrogressing?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Salatu wassalam ala Rasulil Karim wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we mostly thank you for making us a Muslim. One of the greatest blessings that Allah can give to a human being is for Allah to bless that person with Al-Islam.
Alhamdulillah.
And Allah said in the Quran that whoever Islam dinan, whoever come with any other thing or do any other thing beside Islam, Allah said, so it won't be accepted for him. And on the day of judgment, such a person will be among the losers. So meaning that Islam is one of the greatest gifts that Allah can give to human being. And probably because we are born as a Muslim, we never realize this great blessing that Allah has given to us. Now, being a Muslim, your iman, your faith actually plays a lot of roles in the life of a Muslim. And it's so important that a Muslim needs to observe and continue to monitor his iman, his faith, because according to the Prophet of Islam, it says al-iman yazid wa yanqus. So iman grows and then it's diminished as well. So iman can go up and it can come down. It goes up, it comes down. It can become strong, it can become strong. So because iman is not static, it is dynamic. So it changes from time to time. The Prophet said, yazid bi ta'a wa yanqus bil ma'siyah. It increases with obedience and is going to decreases with sin. Now, when someone starts committing sin or start doing things that Allah did not want you to do, then it's going to affect your iman, affect your faith, and your faith starts coming down. Now, how do you notice this? Is that number one, you start realizing that in your mind, you won't be able to focus or pay attention to doing your act of worship. Remembrance of Allah, zikr, it's become so difficult for you to pay attention or to do remembrance of Allah, to do zikr. So even making dua sometimes becomes so difficult. For you to sit down and pray, maybe after your salat, so mafruda, your compulsory salat, for you to sit down and make dua start become difficult. And when you perform acts of worship, you notice that you don't feel you don't esteem towards act of worship. You may hear this call for Adhan, Allah, and you just still sit down where you are or scrolling on your Instagram or watching TV while you hear the call for Adhan. Whenever you started realizing this started happening to you, you just know that something is wrong with your iman, something is wrong with your faith. So, or you are called to do an act of worship, or even to read Quran becomes so difficult. Someone can sit down and read a whole article, maybe on social media, but when it comes to read just a whole page, just a single page from the Quran, it becomes so difficult. Not only that, even some act of worship like fasting, You don't do them anymore. You start neglecting them. I was sitting in the gathering. Now, one of the ways you can, let me give you a litmus test is that maybe you're scrolling on you're watching the WhatsApp status, or you're scrolling on Instagram, because that's what most of us do today. Then you are watching some interesting thing. You see something that's funny, that is laughing, that maybe someone that is singing. You take your time. It's 30 seconds, right? You take your
Mm.
time to watch it. But then whenever you scroll to the next post and then you see somebody playing Quran, and you feel so uncomfortable for you to that
Subhanallah.
30 seconds to listen to that Quran becomes so difficult. And you just scroll past it and go to another post and to see what is interesting in them. So whenever you start noticing this, then you know that your iman is something is happening. So your iman is deteriorating and you need to do something about it.
Jazakumullahu khairan. Now, I will also like to ask, how does the love of the dunya, I mean, attachment to the worldly gains, how does it affect or um, how does it affect someone's iman?
Iman. Oh, that's a very beautiful question. You see, I think one of the greatest factors that would affect your iman is your attachment to the dunya. So when you prioritize this world over the akhirah, so you start losing focus, then you can go any length to achieve anything in this dunya. So it means your focus will not be the hereafter anymore. Your focus will be this dunya. Now, as a result of the fact that you are pursuing things of this world, you start losing focus in the act of worship. So it's one of the biggest factors that can affect your iman. Now, for somebody who every time what you think about is how you are going to amount wealth, how you are going to do your things, how you are going to enjoy, you just want to enjoy life. You just want to feel yourself, eat, and then watch TV. You don't have any concern for what comes after that. So your focus and priority now is just for you. How you are going to, you see your mates achieving something, maybe buying big cars, and that's what you are also running after. You don't care about, you don't take your time to sit down and reflect about, "Oh, if there's a life after this life." That should be your focus. So when you start chasing this word, then it start affecting your iman in the sense that those acts of worship become difficult. You want to perform your salat very fast. When you finish observing your salat, you will not want to wait for salat for to do askar. You finish salam alaikum, salam alaikum, the next thing you have stand up, or the next thing you do is you start picking your phone and then you go back to the dunya. So even when you manage, you manage to do some act of worship, you can sleep. You see someone will watch TV, watch Netflix all through the night, and maybe by 1 o'clock he sleep. And then when it's time for Salatul Fajr, you won't be able to
I've
wake
not
up.
been missing.
So, and when you hear this Salat of Allah, Akbar, Akbar, you just feel like, no, I still need to sleep more. Eventually, when you manage to stand up to go and pray Salat, you just perform it and immediately go back home to go and sleep. When you wake up, you continue the same routine. You start losing focus. To do an act of worship becomes nothing to you. So you rather sit down to start doing something else that is of dunya than still not start doing acts of worship that concerns you or that Allah wants you to do.
Jazakumullahu khairan. Still on attachment to the worldly gains. We are a Muslim, and Islam also encourages us finding the goodness in this surface of the earth. So how can we search for, or how can we amass wealth, properties, and the likes without affecting our faith?
Okay, so as a Muslim, Allah does not prevent us from seeking for goodness of this world, but you don't do that in expense of your belief, in expense of your faith in Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. So because Allah, there's guidelines and there are ways where you as a Muslim are expected to do things, because this world, the way you as a Muslim should view the world is really different from the way a non-Muslim view the world. And one of these ways is that we start with your obligatory acts of worship. Ensure that you are performing them the way it's meant to be performed. So once you monitor your obligatory acts, like your 5 daily salats, is you perform them on time, you perform them with khushu, the way it's meant to be performed, then fine, that's number one step. Then you now move over to start doing some other acts of worship, like bringing your tajud, doing your askar, so doing all sorts of things. And also, whatever you are going to do in this world should not be something that Allah is against or something that will affect your akhirah. There are things a Muslim cannot do. So there are jobs that you as a Muslim cannot do. And also you need to ensure that your pursuit of this world does not disturb you or does not affect you from doing the work of Allah, or from calling to the path of Allah, or from doing things that are obligatory. Take for instance, now you are in the market, you are selling, and there's a very important customer they want to buy goods, maybe it worth millions of naira, and it's time for salat. You need to make a choice. Now, this is a test of faith. It's time
Yeah,
for
of
you to
course,
make a
it's
choice.
a test
So
of
will
faith.
you stay there and then attend, complete that deal, or just close it and then you go and pray your salat? Then that's when you start getting your priority right. That's when you start knowing that, okay, which one do I give priority to? Is it this dunya or the hereafter? So when you start realizing that, you start prioritizing this dunya, or maybe your business, or maybe your families or your social group, you can see now, maybe when you are with your friend, within your friend, you start talking and it's time for salat, you find it difficult to stand up to go and pray, because I don't want them to this, and my friend are not Muslim, I don't want them to feel bad, so I don't want to stand up, and
You're
you
not
remain there.
compromising.
So you remain there, you just sit down there. So you definitely know that something is wrong somewhere. So as a Muslim, you need to get your priority right. So and ensure that you don't prioritize this dunya over the year after. So because when you start doing that, your faith starts affecting your iman.
Now, Jazakumullahu khairan. Now, with all these signs and symptoms of the weakness of faith, how can we develop our faith? How can we make sure that, okay, whenever we are observing our salat, whenever we are doing all forms of act of good deeds, what are the things that we should always do? Maybe like the askar, or remembrance of Allah, or what are the special things that we can do to enable our faith to be developing?
Okay, so Bismillah Rahim. Like I said earlier, the faith of a Muslim is very important. Now, I want you to view this as, when you buy a car now, so your faith, your iman, is like the engine of that car,
Hmm.
and your iman actually determine the engine of a car determine the performance of that car. Yes, so somebody who has a Ferrari now, and compared to somebody who has a Danfo, so we are going to Ibadan. Who do you think is going to get there first?
Of
So
course, the
your
one in
faith
Ferrari.
is your car on the journey, on the road of spirituality. So if you want to move very well, if the engine is strong and very okay, then definitely all act of worship as well is going to be easier for you. You're going to be able to do it very well. That's why a Muslim needs to monitor his faith. And the way you can do is, number one, you need to keep away from sin. You need to keep away from sin. Minor sins, major sins. So most especially the minor one, those sins that you probably don't pay attention to. Like looking at today now is so very easy now. When you just step outside, you see somebody dressing on anywhere out the way he's not supposed to dress. Or you scroll on Instagram, you see all these things. So you observe God the best. So you watch what you see. So because your eye is the window to your heart.
Hmm.
Once your face starts seeing, it starts affecting your mind as well. So you'll be very careful. You'll be mindful of what you see. And also, as a Muslim, you mindful of the kind of environment you are as well. What you also listening to also affects your iman. So a Muslim, you want to develop your iman, to be mindful of what you're listening to. Also, what you eat. Then it now comes to the act of worship, your obligatory salat, your obligatory salawats. What those things that Allah asks us to do. Make sure you don't miss them. Perform your salat on time. Do you give zakat if you are in position to do that. Fast in the month of Ramadan if you can fast. Do other supererogatory fasting as well. It helps your faith to develop. It helps your iman to develop. And even the essence of Allah said, La alakum tatakun, so that you are going to attain taqwa. So that's the point of fasting. So you try to fast. Also, you do your askar, reading Quran. One of the ways by which you can purify your iman, you can purify your faith, is to ensure you read Quran. And on the last note is that ensure you maintain, be frequent the gathering of the righteous. Listen to lecture frequently. So these are the ways, these are doing things, this is going to enable your faith to develop.
Jazakumullahu khairan. Viewers, you have listened to the symptoms and how you can develop your faith as a Muslim. Now, you should not forget that we are Muslims and our faith goes up and goes down like um, a deflated balloon, because when you blow a balloon it becomes big, and when you lose it it becomes what? It deflated. So as a Muslim, number one thing you need to avoid is you avoid sins and areas that people commit sins, and also observe your salat as at the time due, and also you should try much as possible to always read the Quran, always be among the righteous people, so as your faith should be purified and developed. And also to wrap it up, we are going to implore us that we should always chant this particular afkar, that Allahumma ya muqallibal qulub Sabit qalbi ala dinik wa ya musafal qulub sarf qalbi ala ta'atik. So we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to always elevate our iman, to elevate our soul upon goodness. So we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide each and every one of us and grant us goodness in this life and hereafter. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.